Now, for both sides of this debate, I am joined by public affairs consultant and managing editor of the Bronx Chronicle, Michael Benjamin. And joining us from Washington, D.C. is Republican strategist and president of Burkman Associates, Jack Burkman. Thanks to both our guests for being here tonight. Michael, I want to start off by asking you. So we know that 7 governments donated to the Clinton Foundation when Hillary Clinton was U.S. Secretary of State. Do you think that this is a perception issue at this point, or is there a real conflict of interest?
Well, it's more perception than I believe conflict. I don't believe she had a say as to what countries were donating to the Clinton Global Initiative. It was her husband's foundation at that time, and she was the Secretary of State. I don't think she was involved that heavily in the solicitation of foreign donations.
Oh my, it's almost funny, Shrazy.
Jack, what about you?
It's like most things with the Clintons, this smells very bad. I mean, imagine this. You have a woman who's Secretary of State of the United States. At the same time, she has a foundation. She and her husband have a foundation that's raking in billions from foreign governments, foreign leaders, foreign companies. I mean, can you imagine Condoleezza Rice or Colin Powell or Cyrus Vance or George Shultz? This is unprecedented in American history. You're looking at a level of corruption and immorality that we've never seen before. You've got to go back to the 1840s when Daniel Webster, as Secretary of State, was on the payroll of the railroads to find anything this bad.
That's not true. I mean, you're making accusations that are not true, that are baseless and are groundless. There's no sense of corruption in the Clintons when it comes to the foundation. Foundation does good work. The 8 governments and the individuals that give to the foundation give because good things are happening for people around the world to deal with disease, poverty, women's issues. Those are the important things that Americans care about, and our own government.
Oh yeah, I bet that's why the Clintons formed this.
Jack, wait, hold on. You say that we haven't seen this before. I mean, this is unprecedented territory here. But we have to remember in 2013 when the George Bush Presidential Center opened up, it's a library and a museum, that there was a $1 million donation that came from Saudi Arabia. Similarly, former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, his nonprofit organization, the Carter Center, we know that the Saudis, as well as members from countries like Kuwait and Oman, have donated close to $1 million to the Carter Center. So do you think that Hillary Clinton is being penalized unfairly here?
No.
We do have
There's
past
a big
presidents.
big distinction. Those things came after these men had left the White House. They weren't in office. I mean, here you have all of this is going on while she's the sitting Secretary of State. I mean, George Bush, that was after he was out of office. Carter, that's after he's out of office. Those are completely different cases. The other thing, Shrazy, you have to remember, I was a Whitewater counsel, Whitewater investigator 20 years ago on Capitol Hill, if you can believe it. The Clintons, you have to see all of this against the backdrop of a lifetime of corruption. I mean, in the 70s with Whitewater, they bankrupted an SNL, they robbed it, and they handed the bill to the government. The Clintons have done this for many years, and then when you get on them, they say, the media fundamentally loves them, and they say, oh, it's just another vast right-wing conspiracy to take us down. The only reason this story may not surface, I mean, good investigative reporters like you are bringing it out. The only reason it may not surface is there are bigger scandals like the email scandal.
Okay, this brings me to my next question. This is uncharted territory. We do have a former U.S. president and a potential future U.S. president that have been receiving millions of dollars from both foreign governments as well as foreign citizens. Michael, could this blur the lines when it comes to what sort of impact this may have on foreign policy?
No, it won't. And to have a K Street lobbyist accuse them of such things, you know, it really stretches credibility. I mean, on K Street, it's all about play to play, pay to play, and quid pro quo. And to accuse the Clintons of that, I think, is highly unfair and is baseless and is groundless. The foundation does good work. She is not influenced by the individuals or the governments that give to the foundation. It's about her agenda for most Americans who will be voting in the primary next year. It's about what her vision is for America, where she wants us to stand in the world, and what is it we're going to do to improve our economy and to improve lives around the world.
I don't know that you get what I'm saying. I think you're missing. Yeah, I'm a K Street lobbyist, of course, but I'm not the sitting Secretary of State. I'm a private citizen. The sitting Secretary of State, where I'm coming from with this, I don't know whether specific contributions influence specific decisions. There's a lot of investigation that has to be done to find that out. I suspect they may have. But what I'm saying is this whole business just smells bad. The whole thing is inherently corrupt. at a time when somebody's the sitting Secretary of State. Almost no one else in American history would ever or has ever done this. I'm saying the whole thing is necessarily and inherently corrupt.
Okay, this brings me to my next question, is that now Hillary Clinton has stepped down from the board of the Clinton Foundation. She's now also said that the foundation is going to still accept foreign donations, but just from those 6 countries I was talking about earlier and from no other foreign governments. So, Michael, do you think enough is being done here now to perhaps put out the fire and sort of steady the flames?
The foundation is doing what it has to do because she's running for president. These are decisions that she made herself. The foundation's directors made the decision because it's important for there to be transparency. They're now going to start reporting their donors quarterly instead of annually. I think that's an important step forward. And there is a firewall between the candidate for president, Hillary Clinton, and the fundraising by her husband and by the foundation. I think it's important for us to recognize that she is not the foundation. Clinton Global Initiative was started by her husband, former President Bill Clinton. It is not really a family foundation. They happen to work there because they're now out of active politics. She's going back into it. I think we've never had a situation where a former president's spouse is now running for that office. But to throw mud at her, I think is highly inappropriate at this time.
Jack, do you? Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, what you need here is a very deep investigation, and it has to focus on a specific area. While she was the sitting Secretary of State, you have to look at where the big dollars came in, and then you have to look at what changes and what decisions, specifically what was impacted. I have a feeling you're going to see a long laundry list. The reason that I'm willing to throw mud is I know the Clintons' history. I know what I've investigated them for more than 20 years. They have, and Michael knows this, he won't admit it, they have a lifetime of corruption, both of them. And that's why you throw mud.
Okay, some final thoughts from both you gentlemen. Jack, really quickly, do you think this is going to affect her run for the Oval Office?
Oh, sadly, probably not. I mean, most of the media will be afraid to investigate it. Most of the media is very favorable to her. It takes a lot of work. This type of investigative reporting, as you know, is a lot of work. Very few people these days, very few reporters put time into it. I tell you, my radio show, Behind the Curtain, we're going to be looking into it. You can bet on that.
Michael?
Foreign policy was set by President Barack Obama during the time in which Hillary was the Secretary of State. She was a cog in the machine. She did not make decisions, and the president was not influenced by the foundation's donors.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here in what was a very insightful and lively debate. Our thanks to Michael Benjamin in New York and Jack Burkman in Washington, D.C.